students. All right, so today's workshop is about curricular practical training, or as we often call it, CPT, and how it works at our university. So before we jump in to how to apply and all those questions that students have, I do want to clarify something about CPT and make sure we are moving through today's presentation with the right mindset. CPT is off-campus work. I think a lot of students know that. It's a way for you to work off campus. However, it is a work benefit of the F1 student visa. So it's not guaranteed. We use that word benefit to basically imply that it's something you can use, not something that must be used. It is off-campus work, but CPT is an off-campus job that directly relates to your degree and is integral to your studies. So it's very strict on what kind of jobs can and can't be used. CPT is not a brand new work visa that you can use for monetary gain and to get a future job. That's it. It's meant, CPT is for educational purposes. It's also not off-campus employment for fun, extra cash, or economic needs. We know that money is important and that students need money to help them survive. That's understandable. So we recommend students choose on-campus work because you don't need any authorization for that. That's where you can get your extra cash. CPT should have the mindset of this is something I need for my studies and to help me gain a better understanding of my degree. And we take all that information directly from the US federal regulations. So I'm not going to read them, but you can see some of the words I have underlined from the US law are it's a required internship, a cooperative agreement with the school, integral part of a curriculum. So we use this federal policy to then shape the policy we have at both USC and in our ISSS office. I can say it in other words. It basically means that any off-campus training you do needs to relate to your major area of study. It should be integral to the school's established curriculum or your degree's established curriculum. It must occur before the end date on your I-20. So basically it has to happen before you graduate. You only get authorization for one employer at a time. You actually have to have a job before we'll even approve it. You have to get approval from our office before you can legally work. And if at any time you accrue 1 year of full-time CPT, you will actually lose your OPT eligibility. So we'll go over all of that in more detail. But again, we're just shaping our mindset of CPT is serious and it is for my studies. Some other important implications to think about is when you apply for other visa types, or even if you plan on applying for OPT, USCIS does look at your previous immigration documents. So for the OPT application, they'll ask you to submit your CPT I-20s. So if you work without authorization, they will likely find out about that and it could impact future decisions. If you get CPT approved and it doesn't really look like it relates to your degree, they might have questions about that. So you really need to be careful when you're looking for off-campus jobs and off-campus work that you are making sure it relates to your field of study, it's important for your studies, and to be prepared. Don't work without authorization. Make sure you're staying compliant. Oops. All right, so At the University of South Carolina, we have 4 different types of CPT that we approve. And we have these 4 specific types to keep the school and the students safe. So if that way everyone is following the same rules, we are not just approving jobs left and right that we think are related. We have these 4 very specific categories that we will approve off-campus work for. The first type is course required CPT, and it is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It is a internship that is mandatory for a class you are taking. So sometimes there are internships that are literally a class. It'll be like internship class. Of course, then you will need to have off-campus work if they require you to get an internship off campus. So think of it like a credit-bearing elective that requires experience. If you have a class that requires an internship, you can only work the internship the semester you are enrolled in that class. So if you are taking an internship class in the fall, then your internship needs to be in the fall. You can't do the internship over the summer. Your instructor or advisor will have to sign off and approve this work opportunity before you submit it to our office. So if we look at this example right here, we have 2 options. We have HRSM 795 has an internship tied to the class, or an internship with ESPN because I have a sports management class. Both of these seems like good job opportunities and good learning experiences. Especially the ESPN one. Yeah, I'm in sports management. I should be able to do an ESPN internship. Well, unfortunately, that student doesn't have a class that they can use it with, so they can't use course required. But HRSM 795 is an example of a class that if you go to the syllabus, you go to the course catalog, it requires an internship. So that's what we're looking at here for this type of CPT authorization. The next type we have is dissertation research CPT. This type of CPT is mostly going to apply to PhD students that have a dissertation or thesis. There are some master's students that also have a dissertation or thesis portion aspect of their degree. But this is what you need to, this type of CPT you will use if you are collecting research off campus in order to complete your dissertation. You have to be enrolled in what's called dissertation prep hours. So this is usually like a 1 or a 3 credit class that you don't really get a grade for. It's just called dissertation prep. And it is mostly a PhD student thing. So the only stipulation with this is that you can't use it in your final semester of study, because especially for PhD students, they might actually defend earlier than the actual graduation date. So we just want to make sure that they're using the work opportunity effectively, and actually it's being used for research to prepare for their dissertation. Again, your advisor is going to have to approve this, and if you have a program director or like a PhD director, they're going to need to approve it as well. The third type of CPT is called degree required CPT, and this name can be a little misleading. I think sometimes students see this and they think, oh, this relates to my degree. I can use degree required. And that's not quite what it is. Some degree programs at this university require work throughout the life of their degree program, but they don't necessarily require a specific internship class. But they may say to graduate from this program, you need X number of internship hours. So this is in their syllabus. We have it on our government paperwork, and there's currently only 4 degrees that we utilize this for: graduate music, clinical community psychology, cardiovascular technology, and master's in applied behavioral analysis. So If you need to discuss this with us, if this applies to you, we'll be happy to talk to you about it. Feel free to set up an appointment. But this type of CPT only applies to a very specific number of students. The final type of CPT we have is the Carolina Internship Program CPT. And I think this is CPT a lot of students use, especially in the summer. So I know that summer is coming up because it's a cooperative agreement with the Career Center, and it opens you up to more options. So since you don't have to have that course required class, you can use this. So the ISS office works with the Career Center on this, but the Carolina internship part of it is actually facilitated through the Career Center. And I'll have Erin talk about that in just a moment. But basically, you will apply with them first. You'll get approval for the Carolina internship program, and then you'll come back to our office and get approval for the CPT aspect of it. So you're going to make sure you want to meet with the Career Center. That QR code will link you to the Career Center website. And Erin, if you want to step in and say anything, you are more than welcome to.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. For the Carolina Internship Program, your best course of action, if you have an opportunity already lined up for this summer, is to make sure that you have reported that as an experience on Handshake. You all have a Handshake account that you use your USC login, your network ID and password to log in. With that, you would click on experiences and you would report your internship details. So what we're asking for is the parameters of your opportunity. So is your internship in person or hybrid or virtual, the location of where that internship will be held. You will also need to upload a signed copy of your offer letter from your internship employer. And one key thing that's very important to note is that since it is a partnership with our standing internship program, the Carolina Internship Program, most of you might have heard the word CIP or CIP. The opportunities for to get approved, it must be an internship. So it can't be a part-time job. It can't be research. It can't be a TA position. It has to be an internship because CPT is just one population of that program that we're working with, especially to support students over the summer. So we want to make sure that all opportunities are aligned in a similar fashion. There's two pathways that you could take for CIP CPT. If your opportunity is part-time, so 240 hours at the same organization, or full-time over summer, 480 hours. So as you look at the opportunities that you have, does it fit more in a part-time or a full-time capacity, and what the organization has for the offer. And again, please feel free to reach out to us. Email is great. My email is erin.mullen@sc.edu. Or like I said, please go ahead and submit those on Handshake. Our turnaround time currently for approval is running about 3 business days. But I will tell you, it's always best to get it in ahead of time. The deadline to apply for summer CIP is May 6th. So you don't want to wait until that last day and potentially be late on getting everything in. And then if you're looking ahead for fall internship, the deadline to apply is August 26th. And those deadlines are, we go by the drop ad deadlines for the university. So those are official deadlines because the opportunities do go on your official transcripts. It is a free placeholder. So it is a tuition-free program that you'd enroll in.
Great, thank you. I've got 2 slides about it. That's the other one, if you want to use the QR code to find Handshake. But I would just reiterate what Erin said. You really need to meet with the Career Center about that, because they're the ones that are adding that like 0 credit hour class. And they are also looking to approve that it is an internship and not a full-on job opportunity. So I usually recommend this one to students that want to work in the summer, because a lot of students don't take class in the summer and they want to work full time. And a lot of internships are summer internships. So this is a really good option for that. But this is the only CPT that has a strict deadline, because you have to submit it before that add drop date of each semester. So that way you can be enrolled in that class. All right, we have been updating our SIP CPT policy. So you are only eligible to use this if you have set up your opportunity with the Career Center first and registered for the Carolina Internship Program before the add drop date of the semester. And these are kind of points that Erin already made, but this is true for both the Career Center and for our office. Your employment opportunity is an internship opportunity. Almost every CPT needs to be an internship, but we know for like dissertation research CPT, that might be more of a job. It might not specify that it's an internship. So that's why it's important to meet with an advisor. But generally speaking, CPT must be an internship. It shouldn't be a permanent job offer. If you're getting permanent job offers, meet with an advisor and we can talk about OPT. Maybe you can start OPT early. And in no way should an internship delay your graduation. You can't extend your I-20 just because you want to work an internship in the fall. You will have to graduate, and then, like I was saying, let's talk about using OPT. Some of the new restrictions we've placed on the Carolina Internship Program is that you can only use full-time CIP during the summer. We're not going to approve the Carolina Internship Program as full-time during these semesters. And this is partially because you're supposed to be a student first, and you need to make sure you're focusing on your studies. But also, if it's an internship and it's experiential, then it really shouldn't be full-time anyway. So this is just kind of to keep everyone a little bit more honest. And if you are a doctoral student in Z status, you actually cannot use CIP during the fall or spring. We've had a lot of discord with the graduate school, and they really want students that are on Z status finishing up their dissertation and not worrying about an internship. So you're welcome to use it in the summer. Like I said, CIP is the best option for summer internships, but not in the fall or spring. You also can't use CPT, CIP CPT in your final semester. For that matter, doctoral students really just can't use any CPT in their final semester, because again, as a doctoral student, you have the option of just ending your I-20 and starting OPT before you officially graduate. So just keep that in mind. As a doctoral student, you have a lot more options than maybe an undergrad or a master's student. If you are going to use the Carolina Internship Program and you are going to be working in person, the opportunity must be within 100 miles of Columbia. This is to ensure that you are maintaining face-to-face classes. So we don't want to get into a situation where you get an internship in New York and you're not coming to school. So basically just think it needs to be within a radius that you can still attend your classes and work the internship. Remote work is actually okay, but that's definitely something that we're going to have to approve and look at and make sure that it's a training experience and it's not just a remote job where no one's going to be paying attention to you. All right. It's been about 20 minutes, so I like to make sure I break things up. Let's come back in about 3 minutes, take a quick break. If you need to use the restroom really quick, you can, or get some water. this would be a good opportunity to find the ISS website, find the Career Center website, start to navigate that stuff on your own. And if you want to copy and paste an application of the CPT steps, you can. That's where we're headed next. So just take a quick 3-minute break, and we'll come back in 3 minutes.
Hi, myself Shivaji Karna. Is it possible for me to ask a question right now, or can I ask later on?
We will have a question time at the end. So if you have any
Okay, thank
questions,
you.
just write them down and we will answer them at the
Yeah,
end. I would hate to answer
thank you.
questions right now if someone's in the bathroom.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, while we're waiting for people to come back, before I jump back into the presentation, this is our website page on CPT. So I linked that in the chat. You can also find it on our main page. Sometimes it's a little hard to navigate. It's under the student employment section of current students, or we've added like a hot topics section. So you can just click on curricular practical training. It's got a PDF to this, pretty much the same presentation. I've updated it a little bit. It has all the information I've gone over, some shorter videos of everything that I've just said, the instructions for how to apply, the different types. So if you want to remember all those CIP rules, they're right there. And as well as some frequently asked questions. So I know this is a lot of information to take in one hour long session. Finals are coming up, and I'm sure everyone is busy and maybe feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Just know that our website is an awesome resource. It's always there for you to use if needed. All right. And we can see the presentation again, right?
Yes, we can.
All right. All right. Thank you. All right, so here are some reminders about CPT eligibility. This first one says you must be enrolled for 1 academic year prior to start. So you have to basically have been an F1 student for 1 year before you can use CPT. This is a federal regulation. So a lot of students will say, oh, can I do day 1 CPT? Can I start work immediately upon arrival? No, it doesn't really work that way. If we're keeping the mindset of this being an learning experience, you need a year of school before you can really jump into anything hands-on. So the only time this gets a little confusing is if you're a transfer student. So maybe you did 1 year at a different university, maybe like North Carolina University, you did a year there, and then you transferred here. You could start CPT right away. You just have to have been on F status for 1 whole year. So sometimes I can't always go back and see a student's record as another school, but if you just show me your old I-20 and I can see that you've been on F1 status for a year, then you can qualify for CPT, even if it's your first semester at USC. You have to continue to be enrolled full-time while having an internship. So again, keep in mind you are a student first. If you're an undergrad, that means you still have to have 12 hours. If you're a graduate, 9. If you're a graduate assistant, 6. So if you have a 20-hour internship as an undergrad and 12 hours of school, that's going to be a lot. So just keep in mind, as you're looking for internships, weighing your options, you do still need to be fully enrolled. And you must continue to make normal progress towards your degree. So unfortunately, as an international student, you can't just take a semester off for an internship. You have to stay enrolled, you have to make normal progress. You have to have a job before we will approve anything. Because your job, as you'll see in the next couple of slides, actually is going to go on your I-20. And that job, like we said, should be within 100 miles. Remote is okay. We just have to look at that and make sure that it is a training opportunity. All of the CPT is approved by ISS and also your academic advisors. So what's nice, CPT only takes a few days to approve because it's only running through our office. It's not going through USCIS. And we talked about SIP CPT, and then the last item is 1 year of full-time CPT eliminates OPT. And that's over the course of your time as a student. So if you did 4 summers of full-time CPT, then when you graduate, if you graduated after 4.5 years or something, you wouldn't be able to use OPT. So just keep that in mind as you're pursuing full-time opportunities, that if you use too much full-time CPT, you're going to lose out on that valuable OPT opportunity. When should you apply for CPT? Really, you only need to apply about 2 to 3 weeks before the job starts. Of course, if you're using course required CPT, so for like your internship class, you need to be in that internship class before the add drop date. But as far as getting your CPT paperwork to us, we just need to have it before you start working. There's not a super harsh deadline. You also need to give it to us in a timely manner. If you send it to us and say, my job starts tomorrow, we won't get it done in 1 day. It takes us about 5 days to approve. The only type of CPT that has a really harsh deadline is the CIP CPT. Sorry. And that has to be by the add drop date. You should apply after you meet with an advisor or attend a workshop. It's really important that you have an understanding of everything before you jump forward with an application. And then if you are going to have job opportunities through multiple semesters, so even summer and fall, you're going to have to apply every semester, even if it's the same job. And even if it's like part-time, 5 hours a week, you have to apply every semester. Generally, you can participate full or part-time. Part-time is 20 hours, full-time is 21 or more. Both are okay, but full-time during the school year is only approved under special circumstances. In the summer, full-time is totally okay. USC policy generally states that students should not work full-time during the school year. So if you have a 20-hour GA and a 20-hour internship, that's technically okay. That is allowed, but keep in mind you are a student and that's a lot of work. So the experience is great, and we know the experience is important, but also your academics and mental health are important too. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. We've talked about the 1 year already and how we generally only approve part-time during the semester. Yeah, that last policy is actually a bit of an update. You can work 20 hours CPT and 20 hours on campus during the semester. Excuse me. But you'll want to talk to your department about that first, especially if your on-campus job is like a GA. If your on-campus job is working at the Russell House, then you just need to coordinate the two jobs. But if you are a GA or a TA and have some academic responsibilities, you want to make sure your department is okay with you also having an internship. All right, the application steps. Applying for CPT is actually really easy. Attend a workshop or meet with an advisor, and then find a job that is integral to your studies. Not just related, it has to be necessary, more or less. Work with the Career Center to find a job, or work with a career platform like LinkedIn, Handshake. The ISSS office cannot help you find a job. We are not employment experts. We are immigration experts, and we just don't really have the knowledge or authority to advise you on finding a job. I don't know the ins and outs of your degree program, so you could also work with your academic advisors, your PhD advisors, to look for internships. Especially for CIP, you need to work with the Career Center first to do that handshake experience and all those items that Aaron's talked about. Once you have a job, then all you have to do is complete the appropriate CPT form in the ISSS forms library. And this form will have a place for your advisor and your employer to sign. Submit the form to iss@se.edu and wait for approval. We will email you your new I-20. So once you receive it, print it, sign it, and you will now have a CPT I-20 that authorizes you to work. And that's it. And that approval process usually only takes about 5 days. So this is what it looks like after you are approved. This is from page 2 of your I-20. It will say employment authorization, CPT. It'll say full or part-time. It'll say the dates that you are allowed to work. And those are the only days you can work at this job. So it will have a clear start and a clear end. And then it says employer name. This one doesn't have an employer listed because it's just an example. But where it says employer name, it would list where you are working. So, Google, Inc., wherever you're working will be listed there. You cannot work outside of those dates listed, and you cannot work at another company that is not listed. Make sure you keep this for your records, because if you plan to apply for OPT in the future, you will have to submit it. So here's what that application form looks like. Let me send you the link to the forms library in the chat. That's our forms library. This is where you can find any form that you would need for our office. You can just search CPT, and the 4 CPT forms that we have will show up. So this is the course required one, but they all have this student section. So it's basic personal information, your name, where you're working, when you'll start and when you'll finish, and then you sign. And you're not just signing to say that your name is accurate. you are signing to basically say that you understand the rules and regulations associated with CPT, and that you can only work for that employer and that a period of approved time, approved by our office. So take it seriously when you sign it, that you understand that this is official authorization and you will take it seriously. Each page will look a little bit different depending on what type of CPT it is, but regardless, all 4 of the CPT forms have this section where the advisor will sign it. So it can be your academic advisor, it can be your PhD advisor, it could be just your general department advisor. If it's for course required, it could be your professor, that's okay too. But they will fill out this information, something of like, is it required for the degree? Is it required for the class? Explain to us how it's required and how it's a part of the curriculum. And then your advisor is also signing off that this work experience is integral and required for your studies. The last page of the CPT form, your employer completes. You can also submit an offer letter if the offer letter has all of this information. Your employer will put your job duties, where you will work, and they will also sign off saying they understand that this information is shared with the Department of Homeland Security. And then you'll submit this form to iss@ss.edu, and then we'll either approve or deny it. So what we're looking for is we're looking at that job duties section and making sure that it matches with your degree and that your job duties are related to your major area of study. And we're also looking at your advisor to make sure that they've signed it and that they agree that this is a good opportunity for you. Erin already went over CIP, CPT before, so I won't go over this anymore, but that QR code should take you to Handshake. And the last thing before we get to questions I want to go over is just kind of some scenarios so you can start to analyze CPT a little bit. So we have 2 examples here. Student A, an undergrad, wants to apply for the Carolina internship program because he got an internship offer from Google. It relates to his degree and he will work 20 hours a week. So some questions the student needs to consider. Does he need CPT? What does he need to consider? Will he qualify? Why might he be denied? If the internship is a year long, what does he need to make sure he does? If this is an international student, yes, they need CPT work authorization. Even if it's a remote job, I think we see Google and think it will be a remote job. They still need authorization because the work is technically off campus. He needs to consider if he can complete the job while he's studying and what type of CPT he can use. Although it seems like he already thinks he's going to use CIP. So he needs to make sure he will still complete his degree on time. He'll likely qualify as long as it relates, but he might be denied if, you know, his degree is in tourism and this looks like a tech job. If the internship is a year long, he'll definitely have to apply for each semester. So if he's going to do it in the fall and the spring, that's fine, but he needs to apply twice. We have another student who's working on their master's degree. They're offered a software job in Colombia. Does the student need authorization? Yes. If they're an international student, of course. If it's not on campus, we need authorization. Before they can start working, they need to make sure that they get approval from all their advisors. In this case, if it's a student's first semester, maybe they need to think, I need to make sure I've been a year in my program before I can do this. Why might this student be denied? If they don't have any required internship class for it, and it's too late to use the Carolina internship program, it's past the add drop date, then unfortunately they might not get to do this. It sounds like a great job opportunity, but that doesn't always mean you get CPT approval. All right, so some frequently asked questions we get, and then I'll open the floor for questions from you guys, are, can I apply for CPT in the middle of the semester? Technically, yes, as long as you are in the course that you need to be in. So if you have an internship class, like I know a lot of students right now are in a golf tourism class that requires an internship, and a lot of students used the master's tournament as that internship, and they applied for it in like March, earlier this month. But they were already in the class because the class had other things going on in the beginning of the semester. Dissertation research CPT, as long as you're in those prep hours, in January before the add drop date, yeah, you can apply later. But the CIP has to be in before the add drop date. I have a full-time job offer. Can I use CPT for this? No. CPT is meant for internships and experiential learning opportunities. If you have a full-time job offer, meet with us. But really, you should keep this in mind when you're even applying for jobs, is if you are looking for stuff off campus, you need to look for internships and more or less part-time job opportunities. Can it be remote? Yes, you can work remotely. If it's clearly still an internship and not a job. Can I have 2 CP jobs? Yes. But you have to have separate applications for both. And if you are doing part-time, it still needs to stay under 20 hours. So you could do 10 at one and 10 at the other, or 15 at one and 5 at the other. But we still need to stay within that full and part-time requirement. Does CPT has a limit? Yes, generally you can only work 20 hours a week during the school year and 40 in the summer. However, in the summer, there's not, a technical limit. You could work 41. But the big thing to remember is that if you work 12 months of full time, then you can't get OPT. Yes, you can work on campus and off campus at the same time, 20 for each during the semester. Can I drop the course on which my CPT is based? No. So if you are using a course required internship or dissertation prep for your research hours, you have to stay in those classes. If you drop the class, then we drop your CPT. We talked about how CPT cannot delay your graduation. You need to continue to make normal progress, which is why we have you work with your academic advisor. I saw in the questions last week for the student employment, someone was asking if our office can help them find an internship. And we've talked a lot about that already, but no, we really can't. That would be through the Career Center or even your academic advisors. Especially if you're in a PhD program, you can talk to your PhD director and see if they know anywhere that you can reach out to. And what if I find a job that doesn't relate to my degree? Well, then you can't work it. You'll have to find something else. On-campus jobs are the only ones that don't have to be related to your studies. So you can work at the Chick-fil-A in the Russell House, and that's fine. You don't need authorization for that. But if you're doing anything off campus, it needs to relate to your degree. That's pretty much everything.